Okay, we'll call this meeting to order, and this is the public hearing for temporary use permit application 0413 and temporary use permit 0513 from Diane Fowler of Whisper Creek Vacation Rentals. So the purpose of the temporary use permits is to allow for a short-term vacation rental at 1961 Cranberry Place and 1973 Cranberry Place. This is what's going to happen. Corporate Officer Braden Hutchins will provide an overview of the temporary use permits. We'll receive the letters from the public regarding those. They'll be summarized by Mr. Hutchins, and further written comments can be submitted at this time. Comments from the public after that will be heard by council. And after this, then we'll get into the regular council meeting. Yeah, so I'll turn it over to Braden.
Thank you. There's two temporary use permits subject to this public hearing tonight, 0413 and 0513. Both are put forward by Sean and Diane Fowler of Whisper Creek Vacation Rentals, and they're to allow for the permitted use of a short-term vacation rental at 1961-1973 Cranberry Place. They're required because our current zoning bylaw 610, does not speak to short-term vacation rentals as a permitted use. And so this would then allow for the use to exist for a period of up to 3 years as requested by the applicants. There has been no comments received in the office, statements made or written comments received. But in my role as corporate officer, if there are any written comments that I can receive right now and then read out, the public's welcome to submit those now. And if not, I'll turn the floor back over to your worship.
Bring them all up. Oh. Okay, we don't appear to have any. So I'm going to call for, I do this 3 times, call for comments from the public. Once, comments from the public, and comments from the public 3rd time. It's good, you know, just in case anybody's slow to speak. Okay? So we're not seeing any comments from the public. Then that's really what the role of this is to do, is just to take those comments in. So we're finished with this. So I want to thank the public for providing written and verbal comments. Oh, that's all right. And declare the meeting adjourned. All right, we'll call the regular council meeting of December 10th, 2013 to order. The vision of the Village of Valemount is striving for a vibrant and balanced community, and it's our mission to serve the community and embrace opportunity. The first order of business is to adopt the agenda. Any additions or omissions, deletions? Let's go. Councillor Latimer, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Previous minutes of November 26th. Somebody want to move adoption? Councillor Bullock, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Okay. And the minutes of the public hearing for temporary use permit 0313. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Bullock, all in favor? Very good. Okay, so moving along. The next item on our agenda is the reading file. Anybody wanted to pull up there? Yeah.
Great letter about geothermal.
Yeah.
From the minister there. That's of the opposition, I guess.
Yeah.
And I wanted to also say thank you for everybody that wrote letters in regarding the utility increases.
5 letters here. Mm-hmm. Any other comments regarding that? I just wanted to, for the audience doesn't have the benefit of the agenda right in front of them unless they've got a laptop there. There's a letter here from MLA John Horgan, who's a opposition MLA, who wrote a really good letter regarding geothermal to the minister. Friendly and everything, but sort of saying, hey, geothermal is obviously a priority. So really nice to see that support and, yeah, generally raising awareness. It's nice to get that back. Okay, so if there's no further comments from the reading file, move adoption. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Latimer, all in favor of adoption? Okay, administrator report. So 8.1 is the Integrated Community Sustainability Plan. And I have some explaining to do about this one. This came to council for the first time in the early spring, or maybe it was even early part of last year. And there was just one little tiny thing that really for me was meaningful, and as council we need to adopt the plan. And it was just a piece on the history of Valemount. And I see Paul was a part of that committee, and so I apologize for holding up the process. The ICSP hasn't changed in any way, except for the write-up about Valemount. There was a couple inaccuracies in there, and I didn't really feel that it got the spirit of what the town's about. So there's a couple, anyways. But it's just more about, I actually liaised with Rashmi Narayan, who found me some of the written material that the museum has been using, brief statements about where Valemount is from, so that's just put together. And the only other thing with this ICSP is the page numbering got all wacky, so if we can adopt it with just that change of getting things back to normal there, if that's council's wish. So I'll move adoption. Okay, and all in favor? Great. The reason it comes down, I'll just mention this, the reason it comes down to brass tacks is one of the things that the ICSP does, besides focusing the community and get us thinking about where we want to go, it also is a tool for us. We need to have this adopted in order to apply for certain grants. And like the province doesn't want to give us money for infrastructure unless we show that we've got a plan together. And that this sort of high-level plan is something that they require for certain types of grants.
The federal government, actually.
The federal government. Okay. 8.2. The Prince George Committee Advisory Treaty Appointment.
Did Councillor Salt agree to
Yes.
be a rep? Okay.
So Councillor Slaught has spoken about wanting to have this, and I think she's been a previous thing.
She's been appointed
But the
twice.
treaty group hadn't met yet, so, but there is, we would need to appoint her again anyways.
Okay.
So,
So I'll move that we appoint her to the PG Treaty Advisory Committee.
excellent. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Bullock, all in favor? There's the Economic Development Officer report, page 121 and 122.
You missed one.
Did I?
9.1.
Forestry workshop?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Forestry Workshop, February 2014. Ah, yeah, okay, sorry, that's a really important one. So this is a report from the Economic Development Officer. Ooh, thank you. I'll relate a short and funny story about this. I was in the coffee shop the other day as usual, and is this inappropriate?
Nope.
It's my show, I'll say what I want. At any rate, Eric Keatley said, you know what, we need to hire somebody to find out what value-added wood products we can make in this valley, And he's like, we need somebody beyond the valley, like somebody who's got like the business sense and knows markets, right? Somebody's got the bigger picture, who can understand what it is that we can make in this valley that we don't know. So we can go about making the widgets or the desks or the whatever it is, to supply those markets. And I very happily was able to tell them this work is underway through
Bridges.
the project's name is Bridges, but it's through a group that I work with called the Omanika Beetle Action Coalition, which is a group trying to rejuvenate the economy based around in anticipation and like living through the pine beetle epidemic and the collapse of forestry. And the idea is, what is an intelligent question to what do we do now? So here's the opportunity that's before us. The fellow headed this project called Bridges 2, Chris Ortner. wants the village to assist him to organize a forestry workshop in Valemount. Actually, the costs are covered by the Southern Interior Beetle Action Coalition. And he wants us to hire an event coordinator for the workshop.
Are they covering the cost of the event coordinator?
I imagine this is all cost funded by.
Yeah. So under policy considerations, it says all costs funded by the Southern Interior Beetle Action Coalition. Interestingly, the idea is it's a benefit for the village to host this and not the community
my
forest.
question.
There's a little bit of separation there between the people who are doing the business of selling our wood to local people and the village. Is that fairly?
Correct. This is viewed more as an economic development initiative.
Right,
Okay.
more than a community forest
Okay.
piece. Okay, anyways. So it's really, yeah, okay. So that's just a little bit of background on that piece. Thank you.
I had a chance to meet Chris Ortner a month or two ago. He came to the community forest to present his bridges too, and he's an excellent speaker. And so I hope we can really market attendance for this one because it's such an asset to have him here, and I don't think we'll have an opportunity like this again, fully funded, once this project, the Bridges 2, is over. So
Definitely for all those folks who are like Eric Keatley saying, show me what to make, I will make it.
Yeah.
I can find a way to make this for inexpensively and ship it, but I need to know what to make. So this is a really good opportunity for people in that position. Okay, so I will bring that forward then, that we resolve to support Chris Ortner and Cyback to organize a forestry workshop in Valemount in February 2014. All in favor? Okay. The Economic Development Officer Monthly Report. Yeah,
I'll move to
Councillor Bullock.
accept.
Yeah, Councillor Latimer. And comments? All in favor? We got the report from the Public Works Superintendent.
I'll move to accept.
Councillor Bullock, all in favor? Okay, the Building Inspector's report. Councillor Bullock, Councillor Latimer, and all in favor? So, all of this, the entire agenda is available online. It goes on the Friday before. There's tons of information from all of our department heads in here that we just went over in like 2 seconds, but anyways, they're big reports with lots of things in them. Okay, moving on to the Director of Finance progress report. Yeah. And Councillor Latimer, great. All in favor? And the accounts payable report? Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Latimer, all in favor. The indemnification bylaw number 706, 2013, page 137 to 141. The recommendation, we've been through this, we've talked about it 3 times or 2 times as council, and probably 1 time in advance of that when we were sort of setting up where we were going. This is 4th and final reading. The indemnification bylaw deals with how we as a council and as a village are indemnified, that is insured. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Bullock, all in favor? 4th and final reading, done. Council remuneration bylaw, number 707, 2013. So, I'm going to pitch a sideways thing here. I'm not sure how I ended up getting this job, but I'm going to. We talked about this before at the previous council meeting, how much we make as a village, as elected officials. And it's all there in black and white. This is the report to get it in. Bylaw 707. It's the mayor makes $17,000 a year. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, and councillors make $7,700 or so. What's missing in this council remuneration bylaw that we passed 3rd reading last time on was COLA increase, a cost of living allowance increase.
The 2%.
The 2%. And so I would like to we're on fourth and final reading of that. You can't make a change like that in fourth and final reading. What we have to do if we want to add that amendment, which is a significant one, is defeat third reading. And so I am going to put that on the table. I move that we defeat third reading.
Repeal third reading.
Repeal third reading.
Yes, second.
Councillor Bullock? Okay. All in favor? Okay. And so this would come up at another council meeting, or do we make that very specific change?
So just to clarify, you're directing staff to incorporate a COLA increase of 2%
Yes.
into those stipends
Yeah.
and bring it back to council for third reading at
See, the change seems so minor. Can we not do that right now? No.
You cannot change between third and fourth.
Okay.
There's no rush.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, good. So we'll move on to the next order of business, which is great. This is great timing. Talk about giving ourselves a raise. Let's move to the fees and charges bylaw. Not awkward at all. Who made this agenda? Okay, just kidding.
I'm going to go get the rest of my agenda, Your Worship.
Sure. Okay, we're just going to take just a second while we get the rest of the paper agenda for Anne. Okay. So I'm just going to clarify a point of order. I think that we're probably not going to get through this without substantial changes. So, but I'd like to have it on the floor. So can I move to receive it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to move receipt,
You're talking about 14.3?
14.3?
Sorry, you're moving receipt of the report to
Yeah.
council,
Yeah,
not the bylaw itself, but just the overview of.
absolutely. Is that what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Blanchette? And, okay, well, we just have it, now it's a good time to have a
Yes.
conversation about this. Okay.
Personally, myself, I'd like to pull this fees and charges bylaw until another time, until we can look it over a bit more and discuss this major and minor business. I think it's not working.
Okay, I hear you.
I think that maybe we need something in the middle, that it isn't one or the other. There's a few things that fall in between, and we're missing those businesses, those home-based businesses.
Can we talk about it before we table it completely? Because
Yeah, that's just, my thoughts are to just, we have to figure out something else, because major or minor, there's too many things in between that we're not covering that are gonna get dinged.
I think if,
Yeah.
this bylaw really shows to me it's time that we talk about water meters because these major and minors, I don't think they're ever going to be figured out without painstaking work from the Director of Finance. And for me, the commercial increase rate makes sense across the board for commercial property. The home-based business rate increase doesn't make sense to me at this time at all, unless you have an operation like a hairdressing salon, which we know takes more water and sewer than anybody else, other than the car wash and probably the brewery. Those are the big players that I can think of in town. Obviously, the water rates have to increase eventually to be able to fund those projects like water metering and the infrastructure replacements. And it's really tough with infrastructure, with water and sewer lines, because nobody sees them. So it's hard to say we're in jeopardy of losing essential services like turning on your tap and flushing your toilets without having an increase. I don't know if it needs to be tabled today. I think we could probably come up with a few solutions for
What did you have in mind?
the vacant properties, for one. I agree with charging them.
Yeah.
And again, the commercial businesses in for those that are zoned commercial, because I know that there are certain businesses downtown that have been paying commercial sewer and water rates for a long time, and others that haven't. So to have,
Bring it up.
yeah, that makes sense. But I don't think we can squeeze our home-based businesses anymore.
Maybe, can we pull the home-based business out of this? Do you have thoughts?
My thoughts are the same as Councillor Bullock's. Basically, I think it's really time that we look into the water meters for the entire village. And I think that's going to make people more proactive in trying to conserve water. We've got people in homes that live by themselves that will definitely not use as much water as a family of 5. So I think that's our next big step, is to definitely delve into the water meter system.
And we're looking at 2014 for the first study, right? For the water meters?
Not the first study, this is
The
the
major-
costing study.
Okay. And then 2015, 2016 roughly is when we'd be looking at them?
I'm not going to suggest
Roughly.
what the next
Okay.
council would.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, actually, keep talking about water meters, none of us might be here. So I'm gonna add into what everybody's saying. I kind of get the feel and the heft, and I think I kind of agree. I have a bit of a different appeal, a little bit of a different. First of all, we're not making any decisions. I think next year we may end up finding some funds to do a water meter study. That's not really on the table right now. But when you're coming up with arbitrary rates to apply to everybody, it sure is kind of like, whoa, that would make sense, you know? But I just want to back away for a second, because you see the water. You see the water out of your tap. But there's a bunch of stuff that you don't see, as you alluded to. A near-term project to help bring this into focus, I think, is we're gonna have to pave Main Street really soon. Couple years, 4 years, and it's gonna be ugly by the time we get around to paving it. We need to have money in the bank to fund that redoing the water system, and that's where a lot of the water infrastructure is. We can't tear up Main Street and not put in new water stuff. It would just be the worst managers, whatever council that is. That would be just ridiculous. If there's not money in the bank for that is just bad management. The question is, now, it's not fair to just say, okay, randomly these people are going to help us fund this thing, but I think understanding that expense that we need to make in the future helps us realize that even though water metering is good and paying by the liter sort of makes sense intuitively to everybody, the reality is we have a really expensive system in the ground where most of the costs are capital costs, where a lot of the infrastructure that you pay for is stuff in the ground. That's why every residence, whether it's a mansion or a little shack, we provide a connection to the property, a water connection, a sewer connection, and you pay for that. And that's as good as we've come, but you can imagine all of that stuff that we've laid in the ground to date. So I'm just gonna go on the thing of, we have this real sense of fairness and use, but that might be a little bit misleading, because just because my neighbor uses twice as much water as me, doesn't mean we both have to have the infrastructure to our door. It's not that the water is free and that we don't, there isn't a cost of processing it, but that's not the only cost. And it's probably not even the main cost. What I'd like to see to be really comfortable going forward, and I'm gonna make a little bit of a plea here, is the home-based business thing, I think at its heart is right. I think we have an agreement in this village that when you do commercial stuff in your properties, when you're a business in town, every town in British Columbia, the business rate is what, at least 2.5 times what residences pay. That's just how it is. Businesses are sort of the piece that we're on. Unfortunately, I'm not being very coherent, and I have like 3 pages of notes here, which I could never possibly read. here's what I think we should do. I don't think we're ready to roll out the home base thing. I don't think we're even close to doing that. But that's something that we're going to need to look at. Right? We're not just putting that off because we're like, oh, we're making some people angry. Let's not go. We're putting it off because it's not really well thought out and we can't really defend it the way it is, I think. We need something defensible. What I would like to do, and this is going to cost us a meeting, because if we're going to do these rates for this next year, we have to get this stuff on the road. We're going to have an extra meeting in January. But what I would like to do is get a better methodology for what our costing is for the commercial properties that we have here. And come up with a rhyme or a reason for why commercial properties pay, approximately $661 for water and sewer. And why a grocery store pays $2,000 and how those sort of hang together. Like, what's the reasoning? I know we won't be able to do it by volume, but it would be nice for me. I think it would make me feel really good about doing this job by saying this is what other communities have done.
Can I suggest, Your Worship, that kind of an analysis is pretty extensive, and given that we have a week and a half of time before Christmas, and we're talking about a special meeting early in January, it's really highly unlikely that we'd be able to conduct such an analysis in this time. We weren't here when a lot of those categories were created, so looking into the history of that could be a really in-depth project.
I absolutely understand. I'm just going to go to my fees and charges thing. Do you not?
I understand the request, and I think it's a valid request. It's just a significant project.
Yeah.
So you want to look at all of these rates, not just the home business ones? You want to look over all of them? Because everything's broken down into little categories and stuff, so.
Like, if you ask me why a grocery store over 10,000 square feet pays $1,084 and a car wash pays $841, I'd have no reason. I'd be like,
Because
Coolers. The coolers need water running all the time.
yeah.
Do we know the water meters that were installed? Do we know how much water was used?
Yes.
On every single property? And
The ones that have meters, yes, which is only hotels.
right. And looking at that for the number of liters that have been put through, is it fair to say that it's economical for the village to have a meter in a commercial business?
Yes.
Or is it?
Yes.
So if we were charged X amount of dollars per liter of water as a commercial business, as opposed to, say, for a hotel where it's $77 per room per year, the village would substantially make more money than, say, $7,000 if it was on a 100-room property.
It depends how you,
Or 700,
how you set up your fee structure.
Right.
You can typically in a category-based fee structure, the majority of people are subsidizing the high users. And if it goes to a usage-based structure, that majority will see either a reduction in their fees or the village will see an increase in revenue. But it does also give people the ability to manage their own fees through water conservation.
Is there a timely matter to this? So
It's a fees and charges for utility billing for 2014.
And when does that go out?
We're already delaying it by 2 weeks because the fourth and final adoption is planned for the 14th of January.
It's hard to be, yeah.
Well, I think we've already decided that we need to just put this into a next meeting and go over it, right?
Well, no, not that. I'm not
I
sure.
mean, we all have so many questions and
I don't have very many questions. Honestly, if you look as closely as you do, as you are, and I see the reasoning behind it 100%, because it's good to have background in making your decisions and being able to tell people who live here why they pay what they pay.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that these categories were set up before people were here, but at the same time, you know, maybe it is time to look at them again so we have more reasoning.
I've been thinking about this a lot.
Sure.
And I haven't come down anywhere.
everything's divided up, like, I mean,
Look, I think the substantial changes that we see here, I mean, the one thing that I don't get, I mean, the one thing that I would not be happy with tabling this and, okay, so let's say a week and a half, let's just take this as a theoretical argument, that a week and a half is not enough to do a good methodology on what rates are in this sort of structure. Okay, let's just take that. So if I can't have that, we've got people on Fifth Avenue who are paying like $110 for their sewer water. Like that's not from this century. That's not. That's 15 years ago. Because everybody else, every residence, regardless, pays $250 for the connection that's there. So it is a heck of a hike. But I mean, I guess the question is, you know, and if you want to look at it, too deeply, one might ask yourself, why does a commercial business like a store like Sean Pelche arbitrarily pay $660 a year? You know, his business isn't water, right? He's got one little bathroom there, and yet that's what we've expected from businesses. And so it seems like across the board is that. Anyways, so here's where I'm gonna land up. That we go forward in the manner that Councillor Bullock had suggested, where we pull those two things from the chart that speak to major home-based businesses. It doesn't say major home-based businesses, but rather that those with clients on them and employees. But do the work on that so we're ready for next year. But anyways, that's another story. It'll be another council then. And go with the suggested rates here for the commercial properties and the vacant.
so just to clarify, there are some commercial properties that are already paying the 661.
Oh, yes.
So we're bringing everybody up across the board.
Virtually all of them.
They've been paying that for however many years.
So there's just.
It goes up every year.
There's just the odd few that aren't paying the same as everybody else.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So,
do you have a motion?
well, okay, so we had that for discussion, so let's receive the report. All in favor of receiving the report? I'm gonna move this complicated beast that I've just said, that we.
So,
Okay.
Your Worship.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to clarify, if it's a very clean change that you want to make, what you can do is move this and then move to adopt third reading. If it's a complicated change you want us to make, then it would be better to direct staff to make those changes and bring back third reading to a special council meeting early in January.
I'm gonna make it so simple.
Okay? Then you
so-
could incorporate adopting third reading into that.
Okay, and so the simple change that we're talking about for fees and charges is on, so if you go into the fees and charges bylaw 14.3 and go down to the table in section 11.2, the first item there, water rates, home-based business with clients and or employees on site, strike that category.
So you want to take out 11.2.
Well, it's sort of section 11. That's not what it is, but that water rates for home-based businesses with clients and or employees.
Yeah, 11.2.
It's
That's
the very
before
first
the
one,
big what
'cause
you're
all of them are
saying.
11.2.
Okay.
It's, I believe this would be procedurally correct in terms of third reading.
That'd be good.
The council approves third reading of fees and charges bylaw 708, 2013 with the following amendment. Line items pertaining to home-based business in the schedule of the bylaw are removed.
Okay.
Perfect.
That's my motion, what he said.
Second.
Councillor Latimer. Okay, it's time for the big vote. All in favor? All right. Next thing on the agenda, another raise for council. No, just kidding. Awkward. 14.4, Water Supply and Regulations Bylaw number 709, 2013. So do we need to, we've already repealed the other ones below? We don't need to go through those?
They're repealed as part of the bylaw.
Yes. Great, okay.
But it's all
So
one motion.
by doing third reading of 709? Okay,
I need to jump in initially with the friendly staff amendment.
doesn't sound friendly.
In both bylaws, they'll speak to it just once now, but it would need to happen twice. Item 5.3, section 5, number 3. There's a clause that says an owner of a vacant parcel is not required to connect to the waterworks or when you get to the sewer bylaw, the sewer disposal system, but cannot opt out of the fees associated with providing the service as per the fees and charges bylaw. I'd like to request that council add a paraphrase into that sentence that speaks to vacant properties that are not immediately adjacent to a water or a sewer main. So there's just a handful of properties on this side of the highway that don't have a water or sewer main present, and because that they don't even have the option of connecting to the system, therefore they would not need to pay the fees.
Okay.
So the amendment would be, an owner of a vacant parcel is not required to connect to the waterworks if it is not capable of being connected to the system as per the clause above 5.2.
It's actually an interesting piece, because the property's still within the village, and we're still running a water system everywhere else. We haven't brought it out, but they're not able to connect up to it yet.
No, so a great example is on this side of the highway, the water and sewer system goes to the Shell station, but all the properties south along that frontage road
Yeah.
until you get to Cranberry Lake Road. There's no piping under the road there that would allow them to connect.
Right.
So the clause would then allow them to.
And when we do development cost charges and whatever else, I believe in there, they need to buy into the system when they connect up. So they're actually paying for the infrastructure, so we don't need
That's
to
when they
charge
pay
them for
for
that
it.
now. Okay.
You know, on that note, per residential property created, for example, in subdivision, it's almost $3,000 per property that they would be paying at that time as per the development cost charges bylaw.
Yes. Okay. So with that proviso,
I'll move it.
Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Right on. Okay. Sewer connection and regulations bylaw 710.
So this will read like the first one then?
Exactly the same
Okay.
clause and exactly the same section.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Latimer? Councillor Bullock? All in favor? Okay. Now we get to 14.6. So in advance of this meeting, we just had a public hearing on temporary use permits 0413 and 0513. The nature of this was, they're temporary use permits for vacation rentals. And so that sheet here on 1961 Cranberry Place and 1973 Cranberry Place. Okay. So there's two resolutions here. I'm going to move that we approve temporary use permit 0413. Oh, from January 1 to December 36, 2016. Yeah, that's right. Temporary.
December 36, December 31.
December,
Sorry.
I'm going to move that we approve temporary use permit you have to write it out exactly as I say it. I approve temporary use permit 0413 from January 1, 2014 to December 31st, 2016. Councillor Bullock, all in favor? I move that we approve temporary use permit 0513 from January 1, 2014 to December 31, 2016. Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Okay. I think that that's really exciting that we're accommodating that use early on, and I'm really glad that we were able to work with the property owners, the business owners. I think it's going to open up great new opportunities. There's an application for a temporary use permit for 1150 Canoe View Place. Staff recommendation is that council approve the temporary use permit application, including scheduling a public hearing, referring the application to nearby property owners. Do you want to give who would I ask to get a brief of this one?
Braden.
So temporary use permit for 1150 Kingview Place is in essence identical to the one that council just approved. It's just, it's a separate business. This one's Legacy Vacation Rentals, it's Westbrook Creek Vacation Rentals, and it's owned by Susan Carr. And if you're driving down Kingview Place after you make the turn up Cranbridge, the property right at the end, right in the center.
Okay.
And it would be the same process that we've just gone through with the public hearing, and we'll do that public hearing on January 14th.
Perfect. Okay. Councillor Bullock, Councillor Latimer, and all in favor? Okay. So that'll be at probably, in all likelihood, that public hearing. Or will it be a public hearing? Or you will approve it?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be exactly the same as what we just did tonight at 6:45.
At the next council meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Providing we get the advertising and all that process over the holidays, and that works out.
Okay, great. We're on section 15 now, which is council reports.
A very short council report of, on Monday the 2nd, I went to a community forest meeting, and Tuesday I missed the tourism meeting for taking Violet on the Santa train. That's all I have to report.
Okay, great.
You can, because you're longer.
No, I'm not. So on the 28th, we had the community conversation, which was fantastic.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, and we were all there. And I think we had a really good conversation. Lots of people, lots of input. I liked the beginning part, having the other, our partners there and stuff. It was fantastic. On the 2nd, we had the library expansion meeting, which is moving along. December 5th was the VCTV budget meeting, which was interesting. December 7th was late night shopping. It was great to see everybody out and about and all the businesses open, and it was nice to have that feel. And on the 8th, we had our village Christmas party, which was really fun. Suzanne did a great job of games, and it was all good. That's it.
Mine's short. Community conversation, which I think was a good night. And the 30th, I attended the Ducks Unlimited, which was a sold-out event, and lots of money raised for a good cause. The tourism meeting on the 3rd, I didn't attend on behalf of council, but I did attend, and there were a few items that were tabled because we disagreed to agree on some things. To January, the tourism meeting.
Right on.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's it. You're up.
Okay, well, that's me. The community conversation I felt was really good. I hope, what that aspires to be is pretty cool. The idea that we stay in constant contact. I kind of feel like we didn't have more people there because there wasn't a burning issue at the time. Then this came up. We should have had this just a little bit before, and we could have had like an amazing with lots of people there. But I think it's good to keep that dialogue open, and I hope that people are willing to put in the time with us and to stay connected, because there's lots of stuff that's going on. We really tried to burn through everything that's on our plates, and there's so much there. I don't think it's any different than any other council in the past, but I think we've been doing a good job about trying to communicate where we're trying to bring the village forward, just reporting out lots and because I mean, one of the things here in this community is hoping that there's hope and that there are some initiatives in place. So I'll talk about some of those other initiatives. Speaking of hope, I've been working a little bit with a group in the rest of the Columbia Basin. It's a group of folks who are really passionate about getting the next level of internet access here. And they've been working along trying to make that happen. It's working with ISPs that are already in place. It's not an idea to sort of subvert them or whatever, but to bring the pipe here so that we can access. And I don't know if you guys know, but there is a limit right now to how good access we can get. If we had somebody from Dubai say, we want our graphic design shop in Valemount and we're just gonna set up and put a big pipe in the ground or connect up to whoever's fiber is here, we don't have the stuff in place to make that happen. And that is a missed opportunity. I'm working for that. We've had good success out of everything that we do here is connected in some way. And our geothermal exploits, the idea that we're trying to promote geothermal, really is tied into the renegotiation of the Columbia River Treaty, that process. And I just want to say, for those who were there, Corey, I know, was there at the meeting with the province. We've been able to see the province connect back up to Cangia. So the Ministry of Energy and Mines has spoken to some people in Cangia, so we shouldn't give them a pass or anything like that. They haven't developed any policy to allow geothermal to go forward. But I know that they've connected, and they had a pretty good conversation about what's missing. So that's the first step, to see if you're gonna have geothermal, if you're gonna be able to allow that to whatever. That's in a good way. The other thing that was happening is weird. It kind of looks a little bit like Love Valemount, but it's substantially different, which is the Robson Valley Economic Development Initiative.
Robson Valley region.
The Robson Valley region. And the idea is this is the website, the portal. It comes out of a strategy. So some people came here years ago and said, if Valemount had an opportunity to grow, what would it be in? And so I really like it because it was a great study in that it looked on grounds that things could happen. It wasn't about overarching big dream stuff, but what things can we have here and now, today? And what do people, and so one of the aspects is actually putting the pitch out to those people who are wherever they want and do their work from wherever they are here, and also uncover those opportunities that are in the community forest. Yes, we have a community forest. Yes, you can buy wood here, and that's all great, but nobody from Edmonton or nobody with a mill in some other part of the world who doesn't have a community forest knows that you can come here and have an opportunity. And so this portal that is being worked on is a pitch. It's one aspect of this thing, but I think it's substantial. And once you see the photography, obviously it's just beautiful. And it's kind of like, it's like, if Valemount Love is here, it'll be just as equally cool. But the nice thing is, it's a combined effort with McBride and all the little communities from here to there. And so I think it's just brilliant. That's something we've been working on. I'll move it along here.
Is the website launched yet, or is it?
It is not.
Okay.
You'll get the heads up in advance.
But you look great.
It's in the demo, so they need to kind of connect with all the people that they've taken pictures of and interviewed and everything, and make sure that they're all cool.
Okay.
So there's a couple things left that'll be coming soon. But I'll just say that there's nothing out there that's like that right now, outlining what opportunities are here. The other piece is, I just want to, I didn't get to it on the 7th, but I know Curtis Polyak put on Throttle Decisions, which I've seen about 5 minutes of the intro of that, and it was just like absolutely like, I want to like make some popcorn and go home and watch it or whatever, because it's like a documentary about this tragic accident that happened around snowmobiling, and sort of these people's, how their worlds changed and how snowmobilings, people are becoming more probably, it was very analogous to the, what do we call it, the 747 accident that was out here, 707? In the 70s when heli skiing was just at its birth here in Valemount. They used to ski these wide open areas right at the the top of the mountains and whatever. And as a result, there were a number of devastating avalanches that killed multiple people, and one of them actually was right up here that killed anyways, a lot of people. And so all of a sudden the industry was like, wow, avalanches are a thing. We need to figure them out and what causes them and everything else. And I see that thanks to the good work of Curtis and definitely the guys at the Canadian Avalanche Awareness Association, are helping people in a compelling way, helping people get that. Because, sledding is more difficult because you don't always see the devastation when you see an avalanche happen.
I think we're really lucky to have that every year avalanche awareness night too, for people here and people visiting.
Yeah.
It shows that we are taking priority in safety.
Taking responsibility too, a little bit, in a way. Yeah, anyways, and that brings us to this council meeting. So good, that's my report.
Great.
Can you move to
receive those?
Thank you. Okay, excellent. All in favor? Receive reports. Okay, so now we have, I don't think there's any new business. We have a list of outstanding previous council resolutions, and I didn't check to see if my, let me just see. Yeah.
Can we just remind everybody that the office is closed between the 23rd of December till the 31st of January, or 31st of December?
Yes.
1st of January, actually.
Okay, 1st of January. So we're open on the 2nd? Okay.
That is great. So there's a little to-do list that's been on there for like 9 months, and
Did
my
you take
name is
this
off the
off?
to-do. Yeah.
Nice.
Very good. There's a calendar of events there as well for stuff upcoming. And then now it's the time for public comment. So I usually have a little sheet about public comment. I will just tell you basically how public comment works. It's your opportunity to speak to anything that we covered on the agenda. So anything that came up at the council meeting. If it's just regular stuff like that's not on the meeting or snow or whatever else, just come to the front office. There's a whole process for that. We deal with that there. This is for the sort of the things that we're tackling tonight. Don't feel intimidated. Just feel welcome to say your piece. If you don't mind standing up and saying your name and address. And
2 minutes.
And it's 2 minutes. Yeah, please.
Maurice Hill, 1900 Cranberry Place. I want to talk, or needless to say, I'm talking on behalf of the small accommodation or big accommodation businesses. I know you've shelved it for now for further consideration, so what I want to say to you tonight as a group is more generic rather than specific. But may I ask, can I ask you guys 2 questions to frame what I want to say? Is that okay?
Well, yeah, we try not to get into a debate, but if they're just basic questions, we'll just answer.
It's just a basic question.
Yeah.
Each of you around the table, when you are considering financial income from any business, doesn't matter whether it's ours or wherever, you yourselves, each of you have, I believe, a monthly income that you know where your money is going to come from. Is that right? Yes? Okay. So my second question to that is, when you actually come to think about these financial things for the village, would I be right in saying that when you consider these things, you come from the perspective that you would say to yourself when thinking about any financial, I know how I would be able to pay for it. Therefore, this is what we'll do. Is that the perspective that you would approach these questions? I believe probably you do. I think most of us do actually come from a perspective that we take it from our own perspective. Okay? Do you understand?
Sort of.
Yeah, I understand, but I think that we come from a view for the village. You have to leave your personal stuff out and think of it as the village.
All right.
That's,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll take that, thanks. Now, I just wanted to speak to you in general about businesses. Now, of course, I panicked when I saw that letter that you guys sent out. But I came into the village office and spoke with a couple of you, which is really good. So it gave me a whole lot more understanding. So instead of 660 a year, you sliced it in half to 330 a year, which in one sense is really good. As a business, as an accommodation business, I know that it's only fair that we would pay more for what we use from the village compared to just a standard home. But can I ask Councillor Latimer, $7 per room per year?
$77.
Yeah, you know what, I think we may have very good grounds for having, we want to make sure that you're felt heard,
Yeah.
but we don't, so we got to be careful not to debate with you or anything. And the other thing is, I think we may have a good conversation. Anyways, carry on.
No, okay. It's just that I went home yesterday after the meeting, and I calculated out that for us personally, such a rise is going to be $1.20 per room per night. Now, $1.20 doesn't sound a great deal, but when you consider the fact that, particularly in the bed and breakfast circuit, we only operate for 5 months a year. Our busiest time, of course, is July, August. The rest of the time, we don't see anybody. So we have to try and earn a living in 5 months to stay here for a year. So I just wanted to put that to you, in your deliberations when you're thinking, just please remember that our businesses only actually draw money into this community for 5 months out of 12. So we need to be able to survive too. And the thing I wanted to point out is that I believe it's fair to say that all of the B&B circuit, we all live below Canadian poverty standard, but yet we manage to survive here. But in your deliberations and what you want to levy onto us to pay for services or whatever, just please remember that our income is only 5 months a year, and we're already at almost breaking point. I recognize that we need to pay for what we use, but we also cannot put our prices up because we are charging the market level, right? You can't put any more on. Because some guests say you're not charging enough, and others say you're charging too much, so we probably got it about right. So we can't put our prices up. So whatever we pay you, we don't have to live on. So when you have that deliberation, just please bear that in mind.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm on Roxon Valley Internet. I wrote a letter kind of wondering where this water and sewer rate increases came from. So I was one of the ones that was paying $111 for my little business, and that has gone up quite substantially. And I don't really I guess I hoped when I came to this meeting that I would get some understanding of the formula, of how you came up with these rates and how they maybe compared to other communities. So, and I understand where you're coming from, Andrew, there, in your wanting to be able to justify it to us, because we're standing here going, where does this come from? And to say that it needs to be more than a residential rate. Well, I know I use a lot more water at home than I would in my little office there. So I've got my building with the 3 businesses in it that are all being charged the same rate. And it just, to me, none of it makes any sense. I would like to see some formula for how those rates are arrived at. That's what I would say.
Thank you.
This is really inappropriate, but I'm going to do it before anybody stops me. I think we're in partnership with the businesses that are in this community, right? That's sort of how this goes. And I think to date so far, we've had a pretty dreamy ride together. The commercial, the people who are, it's been a very respectful and good relationship. And I think that we need to be careful around arbitrary charges and stuff like that. We need for people to feel that there's a reason. We need to be able to point. And so, because we want to definitely, I think, so we made some decisions tonight about where we're going for 2014. I think what hasn't been said is, we haven't said, do we value the businesses who are here? Do we value their contribution? And do we want to work forward with them in partnership and not have, it's a pretty big change. Somebody said it in John Peterson's letter, correctly pointed out that it was about a 500% increase in rates. Mm-hmm. And that is just, from our side as a village, that doesn't seem like a very consistent or good policy. Given that the other folks are paying that. I guess, sorry, I shouldn't talk about the meat of the matter, but the heart of the matter is, I definitely want to make sure that we're all in the same ship rowing together. We're not taking each other down. And I think that's the thing of council too. I guess we're going to have to try to get better at doing that. And maybe putting in one of our strategies is having a methodology for taxation. And one thing I'm just going to point to is I think the garbage thing is a really good example of how we've achieved that. I hope that the launch goes smoothly and it's not a disaster. I bet it's going to go really well. But the idea that people are paying for, the reason that we can charge some people give them 35 gallons and charge them 90 a year is because really what it has to do with is some commercial businesses that were generating most of the garbage. We spent all our time with the garbage truck on the road hauling their garbage away, and they paid the same as maybe a much smaller business. And so there is work we can do, and let's try to get there together. Andrew McCracken, 1080 Fifth Avenue. Yeah. Okay.
Any more public comment?
Any more public comments? Yeah.
Jennifer Applebaum, owner of Rustic Luxury Home Services, 1323 7th. I'm very glad to hear that you tabled the home-based business part of that bylaw, because I'm sure with some of the commercial businesses it came like out of the blue and made no sense. And I've been typing away on Facebook and have some responses back and forth, but my suggestion would be to look at the licensing structure as opposed to adding a utility charge, because the utility charge, I see it as something that we are using. We pay for what we're using. So if I have permission to run a business in my home, I'm happy to pay more for the opportunity to run a business in the village. I think the licensing structure is a little off. I know some people pay $25 a year to run a business. Some people pay $75. I think it can go, I think it's, you know, people can afford, if they're gonna run a business, to pay a healthier licensing fee for the opportunity to do business here. I don't think it's fair to charge for a service they're not using. So myself and my partner live in a house, we have no children, we have very few guests, we have no parties, we are very good, you know, water conservation. We are probably one of those households that use less water than many others. Just because I run a business doesn't mean I'm going to use more of that service. So hopefully when you're talking about the home-based business part of this bylaw that was removed, in relation to a utility charge, I hope you keep that in mind. And as with some of the other home-based business owners that I've spoken to, they agree with the licensing fee structure change. I don't think you'll get much objection. If you're looking at raising funds for the village to use for whatever project is needed, a licensing structure, I think you can get an income stream for that. And I think that would make sense to people more than adding a service charge.
Thanks.
Paul Johnson, 1123 9th Avenue. Maybe this fees and charges thing could be discussed at the Advisory Planning Commission. I know we're talking about other stuff at the moment. I think that could be put ahead. I think. Is that right, Braden?
No, because this is a bylaw.
I know, but
So
maybe
it's-
can the Advisory Commission discuss fees and charges or not?
So I'm just gonna take that question and turn it to Braden. Hey?
Okay.
It's just supposed to go through the chair. I'm just,
Yeah.
And is it okay if I speak?
Sure.
So the APC, the Advisory Planning Commission, is typically for land use issues.
Okay.
And so utility, water and sewers, it
But
falls.
we have been dealing with business.
The home-based business.
Home-based business, which a lot of this argument is about.
Discussion.
Discussion.
Nice one.
Let me put it this way, if it's at all diplomatic. At the next APC meeting, I haven't had a chance to email out to the APC the potential regulations for home-based business that could be implemented in the future for the APC to consider.
Okay.
But if the APC was when those regulations went to the APC next Tuesday, if anyone wants to attend, if you were to say, well, what about utilities? I would take good notes.
Okay.
But that's all I could say.
just to follow up with your question, it seems to me that a lot of, like, Jennifer has just spoken to, a lot of people are concerned about the arbitrariness, but not necessarily averse to, like, once understanding what the goal of the thing is, saying we have this new infrastructure, this money is required. A lot of people are kind of interested in how to do that. I think because they see it as common, it's our commonwealth, right, in a way, right? It would be interesting to actually, if there was an opportunity, maybe it's not even through the APC, but maybe directly through a few, we'll see what the future brings. Every time we do another committee or whatever, it's quite a bit of work for staff here or whatever, but the results could be very good. And so if we had everybody on board, sorry, so I'm just sort of jamming on that. But if anybody was interested in that in the future, in saying, how would that look for businesses, and say, this is the issue of the village, we're looking at raising this much more revenue or whatever, this is the problem, help us solve that in a way that people feel is fair. I think it'd be a really good opportunity for citizens to become engaged.
That's the big thing, it's fair. Second thing, I went to that avalanche video that Curtis put on Saturday night, and it was awesome. Gotta watch the whole thing, and it's on Vimeo.
Okay.
If anybody wants to watch it. And there's a 30-minute introduction, and then 10 chapters after that on avalanche awareness and the whole thing. Anybody that goes in the backcountry, skiing, snowmobiling, whatever it is, needs to watch that.
Good.
It's very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, any further public comments? Yes.
So I'm wondering, are these commercial water and sewer rates, are they set in stone? Is there any more discussion on that?
For 2014,
Just went through
Yeah.
third reading, right?
We're through third reading, so, no, they're not set in stone.
No.
They're not.
Okay, so.
But they're not set in stone, but they're going that way.
They're pretty much.
It's drying fast.
Whether there's justification or understanding of them.
Rainey, could I ask you to give us a call at the office tomorrow and I can kind of explain how we determine that? It's a bit of a long discussion to have here,
And
but
I think it would be helpful for me to, I understand that it's not based on usage. And that you're looking at funding infrastructure in the future, but I would maybe like to know a little bit more about that as well. Okay.
Great, thank you. Further comments? Secondsies, anybody up for a second time? It's all good. Okay, motion to receive public comments. I'll move it. Councillor Latimer, all in favor? And the next one is to proceed in camera. Councillor Bullock, all in favor? Okay.